This is was a Seth Thomas clock, but half of the works were gone when I inherited it, and I had it electrified. My mother gave it to me as an heirloom piece in 1960 when we moved into this house. It came down through her family, and this is the original face and the original cabinet. This was my mother's sewing chair that I inherited after we moved into this house. It's just where she used to sit and sew. When we went to Arkansas to do home mission work, there was an elderly couple that lived out north of town, and they just burned wood, and he went to the stave mill to get a load of wood which they would give to them, and the stave mill had an accident and he was injured, and he finally passed away. But he and his wife had been raised out from Huntsville, Arkansas as brother and sister, and later married, and they had been eating off of this table all of their lives. And after he died, she said she could never eat off of it anymore, so she put it up in a yard sale, and I bought it. It was a dining table, not a drop leaf at that time. It was real old. The slaves ate off of it, she said, and they had it way out in the country. But the district superintendent did woodwork, and he took it and made it into the drop leaf table for us, and we're very proud of it because it dates way back to the slave time. This table came out of my father's People's Ice plant. It was a piece that they used over there when he owned or co-owner of the People's Ice plant, a early ice producing company in Dallas, and this was a piece from there. The lamp is a pair of lamps that I painted about 1953 when we lived on Richmond here in Dallas. This piece of furniture I found in a second-hand store down on downtown Dallas when, after Daddy went blind, I was hunting a stove for his room, and I found it. It had come out of an old home here in Dallas, but they wouldn't tell me which one. I went home and told Daddy about it. I thought it was one of the prettiest whatnots I had ever seen. And the next morning at breakfast, he said, "Sister, go back and buy that whatnot," which I did. And when they delivered it, he went in and felt all over it because it was so pretty, and he could tell how beautiful it was. When we moved in this house in 1960, my mother gave it to me to go in our living room here, which I have enjoyed it very, very much. This old oak table belonged to Mr. and Mrs. Camel in Dallas, who owned the Camel Hotel. When I was getting ready for my sophomore year in college, Mother and Daddy bought the house from Mrs. Camel on Stratford, and the table was left in the breakfast room. It was part of their furniture way back because it has Fake's furniture tag on the bottom. So I expect the table's over 100 years old. And the china closet also was left in the breakfast room. Mother gave it to us when we were in Huntsville, Arkansas, and didn't have a dining room table. And we've used it ever since and dearly love it. We didn't have any chairs, but there was a chair maker out in the country from Huntsville who made the chairs. He carved the backs out with a knife by hand out of oak staves that Kermit went out and got from the rejects from the stave mill. And I refinished them and varnished them to match the table, and Kermit put the bottoms in out of wool twine, and we've used it ever since, and we really enjoy it. This soup tureen belonged to my grandmother Simpson. When they moved to Texas, some doctor's wife in Ripley, Mississippi gave it to grandmother as a parting gift. I found the platter in an antique show one time. Only other thing I've ever found in this particular pattern. It's Royal Doulton and the Oceana pattern. I'm very, very proud of it and happy to have it since she had it herself. I am Mary Mildred Simpson VanZant, and this is John Kermit VanZant. We've lived in this house at 1222 Phoebe Lane in Garland since 1960. This is in April of 1995. We're so happy David's here to film these. This chest that you're looking at came to the United States in 1832 from Ireland. William Simpson and Jane Park, my great-grandparents, married on the ship over from Ireland, and they brought their things in this chest with them. So it dates way back, and it is made out of poplar wood. And the man that refinished it when my father inherited it said we never have had poplar trees that would make a board as wide as that one in the front. I'm very, very happy to have it. They put their things in here when they came over, and the reason they married at sea was the captain was a friend of theirs, and he could only legally marry people out at sea. There was another chest that the tools were in, and Ann Kappelman has it now in Sugar Land. Okay. The marble top tables in here, Mother had collected some antiques, and these were the pieces that she had collected. Most of them were in the living room, and after she passed away, I brought them out here, and I'm very, very proud of them. And the couch was Mother's too, because I wanted it because it's long enough for someone to lay down on. She laid on it a lot after she got older. The fruit compote belonged to my grandmother Simpson. It was in her family, and there was a pair of them, but the little colored girls got to dancing around the table and knocked one of them off and broke it, she said. But she had kept this one, and I have inherited it as part of my heirlooms from Grandmother Simpson. The fruit compote is cut glass, and it was given to my mother and father as a wedding gift in 1912. These are my 3 grandchildren, which I'm very, very, very proud of, all 3 of them, Emily, Carrie, and David. When Mother and Daddy married in June 1912, they moved into the house Daddy had built for them at 306 West 9th Street in Oak Cliff. And Grandmother gave them this furniture, which stayed with the old 4-poster bed. This was a wedding gift from Grandmother Reed and Dr. V.E.H. Reed, Mother's mother and father, in Holland, Texas.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything.
Yes, get over there close.
Well, don't worry about it. this bed with the trundle bed belonged to my great-great-grandfather, Josiah Turnham. It's 143 years old. It was made in Waco out of black walnut, and it was in the first brick house north of the old San Antonio Road, west of the Trinity River. This bed originally had straps of leather to hold the mattress, but it has since been changed into wood, so we have a springs now on it. This old brick house that it came out of, that belonged to my great-great-grandfather, was made out of sun-dried bricks that the slaves made and dried there on the premises. It was out from Cameron, south of Cameron, on their place, and Mother found it on a garbage heap at a cousin's house. She was going to burn it up, and Mother asked for it, and she gave it to Mother, and I have been lucky enough to inherit it. I treasure it greatly. When Sam Houston would go through the country, he was a friend of this great-great-grandfather's, and the bed was in their guest bedroom downstairs in this old brick house, and Sam Houston would stop there on his way through the country and slept on this bed. This antique dresser has not come down in the family. There was an older couple that were having an estate sale of their things somewhere close to Emmeline, and she found it and called me about it, and I went over and bought it after we moved into this house. So it is not an heirloom of the family, but it fits the period, I think, of the four-poster bed.
This do a little better.
Yeah, it's fine.
We're so happy that you're here with us. He was here for our golden wedding 2 weeks ago. We had a big celebration. Sue and Ralph and Debbie took us all out for dinner. We had a big party at the hotel for all of the nieces.
Okay.
We're so happy David's with us today. He was here 2 weeks ago when we celebrated our golden wedding anniversary. Sue and Ralph came, and they took Jimmy and Debbie and their children. They took us over to Grapevine for our celebrating dinner, and then we had a party at the hotel for all my nieces and nephews and their children. And we enjoyed it ever so much.
Yeah, we are pretty glad to have David up from Baylor today, this weekend, to visit with us. And we always look forward to having him and his mother and dad to come. We're thankful for this beautiful day. We hope to have some more years added to our 50. there another week, it'd be a lot prettier. I don't even know what that thing's supposed to be for.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is a car safety lock that you put on the wheel. Used to when they had the high pressure tires. It has a lock down here, and you lock it, and the wheel would have to turn, and that would keep them from driving very good with this on it. They got this out of Pop Simpson's shop after he died, and I've had it ever since. That brattle, that's a riding brattle with curved bits, and actually they were some I used on my horses on the farm in Arkansas as I was growing up. Hanging down below the bits is a pair of hobbles that you put on cows when you're milking them to keep them from kicking you. And these other bits and other things are things that we collected. I have about 40 different brattle bits that I collected at different places, going to antique shows and garage sales and otherwise. Just one of the hobbies that I've had through the years. This is a corn planter that they planted corn with, and then we had some scales, little scales here, and an old pulley that we draw water out of the well with, and those are. And we have a blind brattle up there, the workhorse brattle up there with the blinders on it, and I got that at my brother-in-law's house, and when he used, and I used to work for him some. I guess that's about it. There's just dust on top of this.
Okay.
This is an old coffee grinder that my dad and mother, John Lee VanZant and Essie VanZant, started using when they were first married, and I happened to get a hold of it from my older sister, and we'd keep it and made a lamp out of it, and they ground a lot of coffee with that. I heard it many mornings.